examined in all 5 dimensions. And it's important because also through this research, we not only want to know like how are domestic workers doing during pandemic, because knowing how they're doing is not enough. We need to know how to make it better. So I have this hypothesis that being a union member is beneficial for a worker. So that's the hypothesis, and we'll examine if the hypothesis stays true in all the dimensions. And if the differences between a union member and a non-union member is significant. So general working condition, the question will be, do you have a written contract? And 88.5% have a written contract, which is good. And among this 88.5% of people, union member and non-union member, it's almost the same. That with with written contract, we have 89 people, and non-union member with written contract, we have 88 people. So it's almost the same, and the two combines makes the 88.5%. And among this 88.5%, only 87% keep a signed copy of contract. And it's almost the same, but you can see always the union member will be slightly higher than the non-union member. And I'll be running chi-square, but I'm just not sure if the chi-square test would show us the significance of the differences. But because we're still running all the chi-square part, and it will take some time, but we can see from the number itself, it's slightly higher. And this is the most interesting part, but I put it in part 2. So after part 2, you can all go to sleep. Because this is interesting. Okay, so among the 200 interviewees, only one of them, lost part of their job and has resumed in some of her jobs at the time of the interview. And you can see that we have 22% of people that actually had salary growth during the pandemic. And this is kind of a hidden important question, because I would say this is a very important question in this whole survey, but it takes only 2 questions to get, the data, before and after the pandemic. And you can see the union members, 28% of the, participants, if they're union members, 28% of them, that means 28 people of them had salary growth during the pandemic, and 16 of the non-union members, they had salary growth during the pandemic. So union members, again, higher, which is good. And you can see this is the average. The average before, from the 200 participants, regardless of the membership, it was 17,919. And then during the pandemic, because of salary growth, the average became 18,686. And this is the more interesting part. You can see the red line, right? The red line and the green line. So you can see that a union member, the starting point for the union members were already higher. It was 18,143, and then all the way during the pandemic, it was 19,242. And you can see the slope. The deeper the slope, that means the growth is bigger, if you understand, right? Like from 0 to 1, it could be this, but from 0 to 10, it could be this. So the average, the beginning point and the end point were already higher, and then also the growth is bigger. So that means, being a union member could benefit for workers when it comes to negotiating for the salary. And you can see that the average growth will be, for those who had salary growth, will be 4.3%. That means for every $100 that you earn during the pandemic, it would be 104. But for the union members, it's 6.1%. So, and for non-union members, it was only, 2.6%. So again, why talking about salary is because you can see that during the pandemic, the economy is, there's a huge impact on the economy, but still the salary grows, right? So that doesn't mean prosperity for like all of us, like happy ever after. That doesn't mean that. That means you already should have the salary like that high because people can actually afford, right? So because I know every time when we're mentioning about we want to we want to raise our salary, and people would say some of the employers they can't afford, and then like there are a lot of people that can't afford. But of course, yes, there are people that can't afford, and I personally know people that can't even afford a smartphone. So yes, there are people like that, but I would say that they're using it as an excuse because when it comes to time, like this pandemic, we can see workforce shortage. So when the employers they want to keep you stay, they have to raise the salary. So if they could already offer that much, and then also, during the pandemic, this shows that they think that your work actually worth the money. So it was already it should have been like that already. Like the hard work, the hardship, and she already like worth that much. But somehow they just gave you like $17,000. So this is an evidence that actually we should talk to Michael, and then we should enlarge the research only about the salary part. Like this is my idea. Like we should do a survey including more people. The scope could be bigger. Like maybe 10,000 people. I don't know. Just more is better. And then salary when this person first came to Taiwan, all the way to before the pandemic, if there were growth, and then also did this person, had the salary growth during the pandemic and now. So it would be like a track, from the beginning all the way till now, what's the difference? So the hypothesis was that I would assume that during pandemic, there will be a huge difference during this period. So that's my hypothesis because I can already see the result here from only 200 people. You can see the result. So more people involving in the survey, that means the more stable and reliable results. Yeah, okay. So now the boring part. Okay, effective dissemination of reliable information. So this is just going to be maybe an advice for our government. So you can see this chart. The upper right is very well. That means how well do you know the government policies to stop the spread of COVID-19? We have 8 correct answers and we have 3 wrong answers. Wrong answers including like mandate vaccination because actually it's voluntary, and also traffic transportation ban because there is no such thing. You can still take MRT, take buses. So we have 3 wrong answers and we have 8 correct answers. So the group from the upper right, close to the very well corner, that means they get all the answers right. No wrong answers, 8 correct answers. And all the way to the bottom left, that means very poor. That means you didn't say anything correct and you say all things wrong. So you can see that Uh, it could be quite even, but you can still see that the red dots from union members are leaning towards upper right, and the green would be more distributed towards the lower left. So that means union members do know the rise because they probably they have more channels of receiving information, and then also they're following the page like the union page, so they get correct information. So this is one of the example. And this, do you know if the government has national assistance relief programs to address the negative impacts of the pandemic in the country where you work? This is only the do you know, yes or no. That's it. Yes, no. Okay, so actually there is assistance and relief program. Okay, so the correct answer should be yes, but most people say no. So that means the government, either they didn't use the right channel for the dissemination, or either I don't know why. Like most people, the government actually, they offer a relief program, but just somehow, at least domestic workers don't know.
Yes, that's only for Taiwanese.
Yes, that's the problem. So do you know the government has Okay, so union members said yes, 51, and non-union member 35 said yes. Okay, so yes, we have 51 union members that says yes, so that's the correct answer, and we have 49 that said no, so that's the wrong answer. And you can see that because like say yes, that's correct, right? So non-union members have the wrong answer. The blue one is the wrong answer. So non-union members significantly, like differs from union members. Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. No. Yeah. No. Okay. So none. 65 versus non-union members blue, and no. See the no part. So non-union members significantly higher than the union members. 65 versus 49. Okay, do you receive regular information about COVID-19? Most people do, but 5% said no. And we can see all the channel of obtaining information. Social media is still the most frequent used channel. And from the government, so either from line or from other resources, just from the government, maybe from TV, and we have from news, from employer, from friend, trade union. So trade union actually 110, and countries consulate, that means macro advertisements, and the least used channel would be text messages. But I know our government has been putting a lot of money into that, sending messages to a lot of people. So this is very ineffective but costs a lot. So this would be a nice way to suggest the government, like utilize social media, but maybe spend less money on text messages because they don't work that well. And which kind of information did you receive? So, COVID-19 health education, labor education, or both. So it's good to see that 83% of people, they actually get both. And we can still see that we have 14% of them, they receive only health education, and then 1.5% they only receive labor education. Caretakers during the pandemic. So first we'll be talking about relief programs. So now only 43% of people say yes, I know there is a relief program, but that's the problem. Did you actually receive government relief or financial assistance during the pandemic? Only 2% said yes. And why yes? Because either they came back from the Philippines, so they had their flight was canceled, so they got the compensation. Either they got compensation for the 14-day mandatory quarantine. So the problem is these are the only relief program and assistance compensation that uh, migrant workers, caretakers can apply. So that is one of the problems. Yeah. So most people, they know there is a program. They know there is a relief program, but they don't get it. You see it, but you don't get it. So, but what's the reason? So these are not the real reason. These are the reason that these participants, they subjectively think that, oh, I didn't get it. Why didn't I get it? So these are their own ideas, like their understanding of this whole thing of I'm not getting relief program. So work sector, that means because I'm a caretaker, so I'm not getting any relief or assistance. And citizenship, because I'm from the Philippines, so I'm not getting any compensation assistance. And qualify but still don't get. Yeah. Some of them they said, okay, I'm qualified, but somehow I just don't get it. I don't know why. Lack of info for it, that means, I've never got any, like information regarding assistance. And government not providing. So this is weird because we have a lot of people that said yes, right? So that means they say yes, but they still think that yes, there are like relief programs, assistance, but somehow the government just they're not providing. So, but like I said, this is just very subjective. It's their own idea. But it's okay because this can also be served as a kind of like a suggestion for the government that, okay, now you know how people think about this, how people see this. So next time when you're providing your relief program, please think about caretakers, migrant workers, because they need assistance too. So you let them know, you need to try hard to let them know and let them know how to apply and also tell them what they can apply, so you need to provide. Okay, and did you receive other forms of support? Sadly, we have 173 people that says no. So these 173 people, they didn't get any support from the government, and they didn't get any forms of support from others. So that's quite sad. And so you can see the second one. Okay, so we have 14 people that actually got support from the union. And we got 13 from friends, 3 from local neighborhood associations, 5 from religious institutions, and 2 from employers. So that's overall, but I did a comparison between union member and non-union members. So we can see that actually union members are more, wait a minute, I should see, okay, that's correct. Sorry, because just cut it. So you can see that union members, they're actually more resourceful because for the no answer from non-union member would be 89, and the no answer for union members would be 84. And you can see that there are 12 union members that got support from the union, but we also got 2 non-union members that got support from the union. So which is cool because they're not union members, but they got support, somehow they got support from the unions. Still very nice gesture, but you can see that so union members, they're overall more resourceful. And workload increase. You can see that we have 21%, that's 1/5 of people that had workload increase during COVID-19. So comparing to the salary raise, okay, 22 got salary raise, but 21 got workload raised. So increase in tasks of work, 52, because maybe it would be the cleaning and all the spraying of alcohol, this and that. So increase in tasks of work. And increase in working hours will be 4.7. But the terrible part would be increasing in both working hours and in task of work. That would be 42%. So very hard for all the caretakers during this time. And that leads to the next part. Because of the working tasks, like increasing tasks of work and increasing working hours, some of the migrant workers and especially caretakers had their holidays, day offs, and vacation deprived of. So terrible, because we have 71%. That would mean 140 people among 200 people that actually had their holidays, day offs deprived of because of COVID-19. And this one is day offs, and this one is vacation. That means, maybe you wanted to go back to the Philippines, but your employer said, no, you can't go back to the Philippines because of COVID-19. So we have 61. So now you can see that because we analyze that, some people they got written contract, and some people they just don't have written contract. But because in your written contract that you should, at least have a day off every month. So, despite having written contract, you can see that the green part is the terrible part. Both day offs and holidays and vacation were deprived of. So that means really like no day off. So the green part is a terrible part. And you can see that with written contract, it's even worse. Those that with written contract, 55% of them had their days off deprived. And without written contract, 47. So that means written contract is not enough, for protecting your rights. So that's one of the things that I want to mention here, that yes, domestic workers should be included into Labor Standard Act. Because if you are included in Labor Standard Act, that means you just, you have to have day offs. That's it. The end of the sentence. You have to have day offs. So written contract is not enough because it's not protecting anyone. You can see here. And non-union members, union members, the number is almost the same. Neither days off nor vacation were deprived of. That's the good one. So you can see the union member, 24, the pink one, 24, slightly better. And then either day offs or vacation were deprived of. So 21, still slightly better, right? Good. But both day offs and vacation were deprived of. 55, it's the same. So either you're a union member or a non-union member, it seems like either you have written contract, you don't have written contract. Still, if you're not included into Labor Standard Act, there's no guarantee. Equipment and protection. So did you have access to questionnaires in your native language when completing TOCC? You know TOCC? The questionnaire that asks you if you've been abroad for this past 14 days, if you came in contact with anyone with COVID-19 or someone who had a fever, blah, blah, blah. So that's TOCC survey, and every time you enter a hospital, you have to fill it out. But from my experience, I only saw English and Chinese, and because I had to go to therapy, not like with anyone, my therapy, every week. So every time I went to therapy, I could see Indonesian workers, Thai, Vietnamese workers, and like Filipino workers, and then they all, they went there with the patients, but still, I didn't see any TOCC in other languages. And I went to Chimay Hospital in Thailand, so that might be that case, because we can see here, 61% said no, but still we have 38 said yes. And did your employer provide you with the necessary protective equipment? It's good to see that 75% said yes, and then 15.5 said yes, but it's not enough, and it's still terrible to see no for the rest 9% because that would make it 18 people that actually the employers don't provide any equipment. So for union members, non-union members, union members, like it's almost no difference. And yes, it's enough. We got 78. And yes, but it's not enough. Only 12. But a little bit weird because we got 10 that says no, and non-union member got 8, so slightly worse. But you can see, I guess if we're doing, chi-square test, that would show no significant differences. Do you have access to vaccines? These are from, I have to mention, this is from August. And since the vaccine's being rolled out for so many months, so maybe it's more accessible now. But it's just from, the survey because you did it in August. So still in August, already 73 say yes and only 27 say no, so which is good. And this comes the sad part: violence, harassment, and discrimination. So because of COVID-19 and we have not like lockdown, it's a level 3 alarm. So like most people, regardless of your citizenship, nationality, you have to stay home as much as possible and avoid going out. So we can see that during this period, we have 3.5% of people, that means 7 people, that said yes. He or she has experienced violence or has harassment during COVID-19. And what have you experienced? So psychological violence were mentioned 6 times, verbal abuse 1 time, physical violence 3 times. And like I said, we have 7 people here, but why I use like how many times mentioned, because a person can mention more than one thing. So the sad thing is, from the raw data, we can see that the person who reported that he or she has experienced violence and harassment during COVID-19 actually selected more than one answer. That means this person has been subjected to more than one kind of violence. And did you experience more discrimination? Wait. Oh, I can see. Sorry. This is the wrong one. Because this should be larger. Hold on. 等我一下。E14. E14. Hold on. 对，我放错，我等下再改。So okay, so this should be this, but I don't know why this is the wrong one. But it's okay, I'll change it. So please look at this one. So have you experienced more discrimination during the pandemic? Ooh. So the number is larger because for the harassment and violence, we had only 3.5. That would be 7 people. But this is a whopping 30 people. 15% of people reported that they had experienced, like more discrimination.
It means that in the average hour, even before pandemic, there is discrimination.
Yes, but this is says.
But it's only for
during the
more,
pandemic.
right?
Yeah, that means more. So yeah, discrimination is always there, and this means a growth. Like during the pandemic, I experienced more discrimination. So where did it happen? So most of them report it's inside employer's house. And the second one would be public spaces, government offices, mass media, hospital, and internet cyberspace, and yeah, okay. So most of them mention like because there is one question like how are you being discriminated? So they mentioned that being a migrant worker, like some people consider it being a migrant worker means that you are always working with viruses. So that's the most common, like discrimination either in Taiwan or also, this also happens in Europe, in America, and actually anywhere around the world that there are hatred towards Asian people. And in Asia, there is hatred towards either South Asian, like Indians, or towards Southeast Asians, like, towards like Indonesians, Filipinos, Filipinas, and people from other country because they might associate like the economic and social status of this country, has some sort of relation between like has some sort of relation or related to like the severity of pandemic. So the poorer you are, the more serious it is. So if you're from this country, then you must be working with viruses. But actually, most of the people, like most of the workers, they have already been in Taiwan when it breaks out. So I don't know, like where they carry this kind of, like this kind of, idea. But this also happens like in Europe towards Asian. So you can see some Asian people, like maybe I went to Europe, I got beaten up. So this happens also. So yeah, this is not a surprise, but still very sad. So the last one would be social economic issues. So we can see that 82.5% workers actually said that they are the main breadwinner in the family. And during the pandemic, there would be some impact, like impact for the house members. And so, only a quarter of people, that would be 50 people that said no. My family members are still working. And we also have a quarter of people that said not applicable. I'm the only one working in my family, so that means still hard, but nothing happens to other family. And we have 34% of people that said their family members lost their jobs. And some of them, they didn't lost like everything, but they did lose hours of work and salary. And so the most mentioned impacts of the pandemic on the family would be more family expenditure. Sorry, this is too, like, maybe you can see the words. I'll go home and then try to fix it. It's too small here. Can you see the words? No, it's too blurred. So yeah, I'll fix it. But the brown one, 108, like how many times it's mentioned? It's mentioned 108 times. It's more family expenditures. And 103 times more family burdens, not applicable, 37 times. There are no impacts, it's the same. So 37 times. More domestic violence, 14 times, because everybody cramped at home and then bad things could happen. How safe do you feel from the threat of contracting COVID-19 in your work? So from 1 to 10, 1 means I feel extremely unsafe. 10 means I feel extremely safe. So we have 3.78 in overall average. That's bad. because that means you, if it's 5, it means I'm just fine, safe, not safe, but I'm okay. So it's lower than 5, that means it's really bad. So definitely most of the people feel the threat. And from 1 to 10, union members 3.82, non-union members 3.74. So it's almost the same. So, like when it comes to viruses, I guess everybody feel threatened. And source of anxiety. So most people mention health fears, okay, understandable, and lack of saving, financial hardship. So this is why I am mentioning the salary part, is because most people, other than the pandemic, other than the fears, viruses, the next thing that everybody, almost everyone feels, like can feel the anxiety from lack of savings and financial hardship. You see 119 times is mentioned. That means 119 people actually mentioned it. Because you can choose only one time, like in your sheet. So either you choose multiple answers, like 4 answers altogether, it still counts 1, right? So that means 119 people mentioned it. So that's why I mentioned the salary part. I think it could be it could be the campaign part. We'll come to that later. And work uncertainty, difficult access to public transportation. So that would be the 4 categories that you see, like large numbers. And the quiz, that's the last part. Overall average on the quiz, 84.375%. That means the score, that's the average score. Good job. But then, non-union members slightly higher. We'll come to this part later. Actually, I analyzed all 4 questions and the correct rate. And the union members actually did a good job in the first 3 and the first 3 questions. But the last one, like what happened?
What's the question? I don't remember.
Okay, so the first one, employers can ban workers from going out, citing pandemic prevention as the reason for doing so. True. Your employers cannot ban, cannot tell you not to go out because of the pandemic. That means if it's, like you want to go out, you go out. Despite what? Like, everybody does that. So the correct rate, 85%. And union member actually got 88, non-union member actually got 82. So this one, union members win. Next one, CDC will issue quarantine order to the caretaker should she be required to quarantine. Yes. So your employer cannot tell you, you're required to quarantine. So you cannot go out, you can't have a holiday. No. Only when you receive a quarantine order, it will be a formal document that actually tells you that you came in touch with someone with COVID-19, so now you have to stay home for 14 days. And you probably wouldn't know who that is, like judging by, the people that you're going out with. So, yes, 91.5%. That's pretty good. And you see, 91, 92, it's almost the same, almost the same. Next one, if a caretaker tested positive for COVID-19, her contract would be terminated automatically. No, it's like any other illness. You're sick, you need a doctor, you need treatment, but that doesn't mean your contract will be terminated automatically. That's not the thing. And everybody knows about it, so the correct rate is like 95%. And union member 97, non-union member 93. So you can see you win by 4%, right? You lose by only 1%, and you win by 3%. So what happened to this? What happened to this? That's come to the last question. Taiwan has expanded the rollout of its COVID-19 vaccine to cover every adult in Taiwan. The vaccine is provided for free regardless of citizenship. Therefore, employers can demand that caretakers be vaccinated. No, your employer cannot demand that you get vaccinated. If you, they can say, oh, you can get vaccinated. Like you can choose to be vaccinated. Okay, this is a huge, you can say, political issue, at least in the United States, because most of, a lot of, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people, especially white European Americans, that's how they call themselves. European Americans, they reject to be injected. They don't want to be injected with anything, and they believe that being injected, with a vaccine would actually, they would also inject a microchip into your body that you would become the, I don't know, like the protege of Satan or something. They say it's a 666, like 666 microchip or something. So that's the conspiracy theories. But that's also a thing. If you choose not to be vaccinated, then you can choose not to be vaccinated. Whatever the reason is, you can choose. Okay. So your employers cannot demand. Okay. They can, yes, kindly suggest that you get vaccinated, but never demand. Okay. And that's what happens. Union members, 60%, only 60 of them say it's false. And 40 of them say, yeah, your employer can't demand that you go and, get vaccinated. No. So that's where, this whole fall apart. So actually, you should get, like union members should get hired. Man. But it's fine lah. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.
Para dun sa, hindi naiintindihan niya, tulad nila B, meron kasing nilunsad ang DCU, tsaka nila yard. Pero yung those who doesn't know about that, yan yung survey ng ILO nang nagpalay IDWF sa DCU. Maganda itong ipresent sa government kasi di ba si Atty. Lowencio na yung nagsabi na mababago lang yung sitwasyon natin kung pinupunan ng international community ang Taiwan. So maganda yung survey na yan kasi ang Taiwan at saka yung bansa natin lagi nagpapasikat sa ILO. Actually, bibilin yan sa atin, babayaran yan sa atin, pero hindi natin yung pinabibenta. Sa atin yan, pag-aaring natin yung research na yan. At isasabit natin sa IDWF sa ILO. Kaya, nung mabanggit ko yan sa Mexico, katat-katat silang willing silang mag-guest sa ating annual meeting.
你问他来，这附近有全家吗？
Ang ilan ay 10 researcher ba tayo dyan?
Yes, 10.
So, 10 researcher ang nagpakahirap dyan. Ako.
Doon ako nagkamalita na.
Yan, 10 researcher ang naghirap dyan na mag-isa-isa ang pasagutan niyan na si Eric yung nag-evaluate. Tapos meron niya paraffol.
Paraffol, trip to Manila. Charot.
Ngayon ba yun i-announce
What's the discussion?
Yeah. We are explaining what was that about to those who doesn't know.
Okay. I see.
Okay, this is a survey. We applied the resources from AWF, and then this is we do this about. I think Eric explained just now that there's a purpose why we do it, and then also we want to review the situation of domestic caretakers under the pandemic. So during this year, we prepare for the questionnaire. Eric made the questionnaire, and we start the training some researchers. 10 of our union members as researchers, and these 10 members collected data from 1,100 member and 100 non-member. Okay, and we collect the data since August 1, right? Since August 1 to August 31, for the whole month. And after the whole month, we Eric spent some time to collect data and analyze the data. So the result of the survey is like what you just read. That's why Eric report you today about this result. So we have 1 hour to discuss about. Firstly, what do you think about the fact revealed by the data? I think I can as Eric's report, I think there are some significant yeah significant fact significant no splitting okay significant fact revealed by this one. Firstly is that salary of domestic caretakers are slightly increased. The first thing, right? But we didn't survey about why the reason, but we all know it's because of shortage of human power, right? And this is a good thing. And then I didn't hear any good thing after this. After that, we would know 21% think their workload increased, and 71% being deprived of day offs. And even we have contract, even we have union, we cannot help the workers who are grounded by their employers because there's no law to protect you. And there are information like most of the employers provide enough equipment for you under the pandemic, like masks. And you are, for most of you, the vaccine is accessible, right? But the bad thing is about discriminations and violence and harassment. And I think this is generally the important fact revealed by this survey. 所以我们要不要把它写出来 Anyone want to share what you hear from this survey? And do you have any question to this data results? So you understand all of these questions and all of the result. Okay. 好吧，那我们就是我觉得他可以把就是我们 find out 的主要的问题找出来。
我觉得主要是薪水。
所以第一是薪资嘛，salary。
对，然后 workload 的增加，其实一定程度也显示了对人力的依赖。所以就是说，这个就是接下来就是说，那这个我是觉得就是涨薪水的部分也可以。
对啊。
呀。
所以我们把它写下来哈，就是那个第一就是关于薪水的调整。
Okay. So, I think there are 2 points that were addressing. The first one would be the So the first one would be the raise of the salary, and the second would be also the increase of workload, because that means the workforce is still highly dependent, and if the workforce is so highly dependent that I would say that employers should pay accordingly. Yes, because now too much work, long hours, but too little pay. So I would say it's very imbalanced. And you can see during the pandemic and see, because from the increase of workload, you can see how much the workforce is needed, how much the workforce is how much Taiwanese employers depended on the workforce, but at the same time, they're not paying enough. And most of them, almost all of them, didn't pay enough. And some of them, because they want to continue to hire, so they offer more because you had a chance maybe before July that you all had a chance that you could transfer to become a factory worker. And that's when these employers find out, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to hire because, because the government is not letting, almost not letting foreigners come to Taiwan because they need to protect Taiwan. So there is strict border control. So they think, oh, if I let this worker go, then I wouldn't be able to hire a worker maybe, I don't know in how many months. And that would cause a trouble. So now I'm willing to pay more just to keep this person. So we all know that this is the reason. And so that's why I want to mention about, salary raise, because mentioning salary raise to your employer is not enough. I would say we need to mention it to Mako, because Mako is the one, 对吧 Mako 是那个吧合约的那个是 Mako 对不对 Yeah, Mako would be the one that review the contract. 是 review the contract.
是他们提出我们 review 还是我们提出？
他们
提出我们 review。
Yeah,
跟
so
台湾诉求
台湾政府 review 对不对？
就是
达成共识，但他们理嘛 Yeah. So Mako is the one that drafts the contract, the template of the contract. And then Taiwanese government will be the one that review the templates. But, if Mako never raises the number in the template, in the standard contract, then there will be no chance for the raise of salary. Because I would say, if Mako says $70,000, why would Taiwanese government review the contract and say, 17 too little, let's increase something. That's not important. That's not impossible. That's not possible, right? Because the money will be coming from Taiwan to the Philippines. So if Mako never mentions any raise, I would say it's impossible for Taiwanese government to just certainly find a conscience and say, we should raise the salary. No, it's not gonna happen. So we should, I would say that it's a chance that we mention to Mako. You should, when you draft the document, you should already raise the number. And actually, I know you did mention to Mako before, but Mako said you need to do a research. You need to have some numbers. So now we have the number. So let's show the number to to Mako and see. Oh, now we have the number. So raise the salary. And also, Indonesian government, they already made their moves. They didn't mention about salary raise, but they mentioned about no placement fee, and the employers will be the one, paying for the broker's fee and stuff. So they already made their move. So now it would be our turn to make the move. So we should persuade Mako to first draft the document and raise the salary. Already just put the number, higher number. It should be 23, something. It shouldn't be just 17, and maybe it should be more. I don't know. So we can, based on the number we have. Yeah.
According to Mako, the Taiwan government is the one asking for that research.
Asking for the research. That's cool.
Yeah, the Taiwan government is the one who pressuring Mako to do the research.
Okay, so I'll just submit this research to Mako, and Mako can submit it
But
to.
the representative during the labor conference, the Philippine government representative replied to Taiwan government, there's no need for research.
Oh,
But your government is the one asking for that.
cool. So let's just submit the result to MECO.
Yeah.
Even MECO can read it. It will be a formal like paper. So it would have abstract in Chinese, in English, and then the rest of the part will be in Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's good. The Taiwanese government can read it.
Yeah.
If they don't want to read it, it's their problem. Yeah, but they should read it. It's in Chinese. So I think it's one of the good things that I really want them to at least take some time to read it. It's important. Okay, fact one: increase of salary and workload employers have need and can afford. Not everyone increased. Okay, fact two: because of citizenship and working sector, no compensation accessible. Yes.
Something good.
对. Fact 3, 71.5 deprived of day off, even have contract. Yes. Okay, 3.
I just extract from the result of the data, and I extract for these 3 facts. I think that's very obviously right.
Yeah.
因为你才会不卡翻嘛，所以我只能够说我看到的 very obviously fact bring out from this data. So firstly, we talk about the salary increasement, but I need your feedback because from this increase of salary and workload, we can see first fact is that the employer badly need a domestic caretaker, right? Especially in the pandemic, they need you very badly. And secondly, in the meanwhile, they can afford. Most of the employer, or at least 22% of these employers, they can afford, right? At least that shows that. Okay, and second thing is that it's only 22% of the worker got the salary increased. It means that most of the caretakers, their salary still remain the basic, which means just 17,000. Yes. So it means that, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means the salary increasement is based on the market, but because this market is controlled by the government, which means you don't have freedom to transfer. You don't have freedom, even sometimes your paper is occupied by the brokers, right? So it means that if you don't have a reason to transfer to other work, or even you are transferring, but you are not free to choose a job. Sometimes sometimes our member you experience that like you have this employer offer higher, this employer offer lower, but because this is belong to your original agency, and this is the new agency, so you are not able to transfer to the better job. That's what we say, that the market is controlled by the policy and at the same time by the broker, right? So I think still we have to tell the society that although we see some increasement of the salary, but it's the minority get the increasement. The majority of the domestic caretakers are still suffering the lowest wage. That's the fact that we can reveal, because I think nowadays many people are criticizing that domestic caretakers want to transfer to the factories. They're criticizing that some people doesn't want to work properly because they want to be fired so they can find another job, something like that. But we need to say it is the control of the policy and the broker system make it difficult to negotiate, because in this nowadays the very shortage of workforce, supposedly everyone should increase your salary should be increased, supposedly, right? But why not? It is because of control, and the control is really bad for you. So I think that's the fact revealed. Do you think this reveal other facts? Any additions? Any additions? I really need you to feedback because this is what I think, what my observation from the data he revealed. Okay, you can give additional ideas anytime. And second fact is because the citizenship or because the working sector, no compensation accessible, right? But I think mostly it's because of the citizenship, right?
Yes.
So now we have a 5 times 对吧？5倍券什么东西啊？5倍券是什么
The coupon.
？5 times coupon.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yes.
Every Taiwanese.
We call it ayuda.
Huh?
Ayuda.
Ayuda.
Ayuda in Philippines.
Ayuda.
It's relief food.
Like okay，就是那个啦，我们we call you five times coupon.
应该是吧，有些也不太懂。
Yeah. But basically, simple idea is that every Taiwanese citizen, even the newborn infant, as long as you have a ID card, and or you have a permanent ARC, APRC, you can be subsidized from the government 5,000 without any reason, and then we can spend it anywhere. And then there's other things like salary compensation to the industrials if they continue hiring, and some Taiwanese workers got 10,000 NT compensation if we have labor insurance. Things are like that. Oh, you also receive it. we also receive it because our labor insurance is very small, so we are subsidized. We're subsidized by the government. So mostly, I think it's the difference is because of citizenship. But so the differential means that under the pandemic, everyone suffer the same. But because of citizenship, you don't get any subsidies. So, I think that's another fact. And then I think in the resources of your anxiety, as the data, the survey shows that the anxiety of your the resources of your anxiety under the pandemic, the first number is disease itself, and the second place is the financial burden or lack of savings, and the lack of savings and financial burden is from small salaries, and if you don't have the increasing of the family expenditure, right? I think that's what we show. It means that the anxiety is so big, but the government offer no help just because you are a foreigner. But regardless, you are also contributing to Taiwanese economy. Yeah. 好吧，那再来 the third fact is very obvious is the deprive of day off. In the data, I think 71%, 71.5% that suffers no day off. But we didn't. Our survey is done in August, right? Yes. So it means that maybe you already suffer maybe May to August. And even some people even less until now. Yeah, some of the people still suffering no day off.
Some of the boss are there depending on the vaccine, ma'am. Like my former boss, she doesn't like me to go out until I get my vaccine.
Yeah, and then it's no legal base. Yeah. Most deprive of your day off has no legal base, and in the same time, on your contract is indicate that you have weekly day off. And also, but in this fact, no matter you are member or non-member, no matter you have contract on hand or don't have contract on hand, almost the same proportion of you are deprived of day off. So it means that the employer, they doesn't mind the union, they doesn't mind what's written in your contract. They doesn't mind because they know that they doesn't violate the law.
As long as we pay us.
Yeah, they think, oh, as long as I pay you, I can buy you a day. Yeah, and even it's not reasonable, but because nothing to stop them. So I think Eric just mentioned the Labor Standard Act. Or the one we are doing is the Household
Service Act.
Yeah, Service Act. That's why we are pushing these two. That we need, no matter what, we need a law to protect our right of day off. But as I know, some worker, even some migrant worker, even in the nursing home or factory, they are still grounded. Yeah, I mean they're still grounded. But they still have their day off. The difference thing is that they have their dorm. So out of work they can rest in their dorms. But for domestic caretakers, you are working and living in the same place. So as long as you are in the house, you are either working, either standby, right? So that's why being grounded is inhuman, and it's a discrimination toward migrant worker. But generally, we have to say domestic caretaker still suffers more because it's a 24 hours living work. So we badly need a law to protect our right to having day off, because we really need to go out of space. Yeah. And so that's the 3 facts we find out. And so what do you think the other fact I didn't mention from the result you just heard? Is there other fact we need to bring out to discuss? Because this this result is about our campaign. We were based on the most important and obvious result to generate our campaign appeal. So any other fact we find it?
Do we need to suggest about the working hours duration?
Working hour durations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not 24 hours.
Workload.
And
So
the
part
working hour.
1.
Part one.
Okay. 蓝色的
Yeah, good.
Here, ma, working lower than the hours.
Working hours.
Duration of working hours.
Yeah. 为什么写会错？
workload 里面有事情增加了，
或时间增加了。
这个都可以。
对吧？这都把它补进来。So maybe we need to mention also not only the increase of working load, but also working hours. 哎呀，好难写。
Hours, task, both increase.
Both increase. So it means that the lack of working hour regulation. Okay. 好。
Sasabihin yan.
Lack of
Tsaka yung dagdag.
Working.
Yung tutulog ka na.
Meron
Oo,
kasi kayong data eh, kaya
Yung sa magdamag nakakabulis.
regulation.哎，有看懂我那个画面。为什么这么丑？
不然很好看，很好看。
好。Okay, thank you for your additional opinion. Any other additions? 还有没有其他补充？Any other addition to this factor? Okay, so if this the general three effects, so what should be our appealings? What is our what is our appealings?
Yung ano, yung Grace. I miss Grace.
It's okay. Grace good. Yeah, good. Thank you. No need to admit.
I encounter many of TCU member, not all, but they buy their own food. They buy their own food.
During pandemic only? Always.
Always.
always, but become worse during the pandemic. Always
Like me. Like me. Me too.
Always about buying own food. That's something
Like
we
during the
didn't.
pandemic, it becomes worse.
But it's a pity we didn't put it in our survey because we didn't. It cannot be revealed by the survey, but it can be revealed by cases. Yes. But or we can put in the next year survey.
Oh, meron pa next
Or
year.
unlimited.
Yeah, but this year because you need to.
Ang hirap kaya yan.
We reveal facts by statistics.
那还好，我觉得每个可以的内容可以当时想到的内容可以
Isa yan ang sagutan.
如果
Ang hirap
没
na
有
namin yan. Kaya this time,
就是我的意思是说，我本来只是想说，你们的东西，本来我是要拍成照片，我本来是想要让他们一人了解一下，说如果我们要看，会发生这件事情。因为现在的问题就是台湾雇主就对他们很大，那明显这里我们已经知道了，以前他们不是很喜欢说你不爽就回去嘛，就现在事实出来是你需要我，我需要你，所以我就告诉你，那你有没有要我？也就是如果你不对我好，那我走了。所以是如果你要我留下来，
发展一个行动。
对，就是你如果要我留下来，我只是想到的是另外一个，就是那个如果你不让同志回国，我不去。所以我想到的是那一个短片，就是这个地方，就是如果没有，就想象一个没有看护的台湾，你们这些雇主会发生什么事？然后现在事实告诉你了，
lagi
你可以
niyo
走，
tatandaan,
那
kapag
你们
sanay
要
ng
我们留下来，
sa 10 agenda, pinapasok ng
你说什么？
ang isinasagot ng Taiwan government, kasama niyo kami ng research, research survey and case study. Hindi ginagawa ng Pilipinas.
Okay, we need to. We have 1 hour, right? Because we need to finish by 3:30. So we have 1 hour.
但他们现在不改善这个，
Half hour.
就有明显他们有一个
Eh, half hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. Okay.
我的意思是说，如果总有一天他们
等一
现在
下，我已经讨论，那can we? Isang basta.
Isang bagsak lang, tatlo agad.
Oh, yeah, only one. Sorry.
Sabay-sabay na.
1, 2, 3!
Yo!
Yo, okay. Okay, I because this is wrong. Okay, we spend like one hour. We partially firstly. Okay, we also already know. What's happening? Okay. 可是这样子看你要不要先领？我觉得你可以先领，不然我怕你太多。对，但看你要不要参与。Okay. What do you think? You want to rest for 5 minutes first? We rest for 5 minutes first, and then we come back to continue our discussion. Can we? Shall we? So now it's